Welcome, my friends. It is Sunday. That is Sunday, October 2nd, 2011. I'm Alex Jones, joining you live from the road. We are going to have the regularly scheduled broadcast Sunday show that'll be a best-of retransmission, also with some segments from Friday's InfoWars Nightly News. That will be on 4 to 6 today. But the information I've got for you is so important that I am joining you from literally South Texas on the side of the highway. I'm sick and tired of the TSA sticking their hands down people's pants, grabbing on my genitals. I'm not going to let them molest my wife or children. So I've gotten an RV so that I can travel around the country and speak at different affiliates that we have and have local events, because listeners have been requesting it and, quite frankly, demanding it. So this is our second maiden trial of the RV and the onboard broadcasting system that we're going to be using probably about every 2 months, or perhaps even more. I'm going to be out on the road live. And again, I'll go to local affiliates, do my show there or on the road, and then speak in different towns and cities each evening. And I plan for these to be basically week-long trips every 2 months where I go to different parts of the country. The East Coast, the South, the Southwest, the North, the Northwest. We're going to go all over the United States and speak out against the globalists and meet with fellow info warriors and lovers of liberty all across the country. Now, this morning at about 8 a.m., I decided to do this special transmission today at 2 o'clock Central. And I called Aaron Dykes. I called our IT people. I called Rob Jacobson. I called Paul Watson, and they all came in on Sunday so that we could bring you this information. The article that Paul Watson has written that is at Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, dealing with the Wall Street occupation and what's really behind it. Aaron Dykes and his posting, he's in there at the office right now, and our IT people right now in the studio bringing you this information. And a lot of times I come on air months and months and months ahead of something big happening and predict it. But then other times, big events begin to unfold, and I sit back for a few weeks and don't really give you my take on it because I'm busy really letting the information stew in my own mind and really studying the situation before I voice my, not opinion, but my well-researched view on something. And that's what I'm going to tell you here right now. Now, this is a very sophisticated, nuanced position because it's reality-based. And if I don't address it properly, it will actually play into the left-right controlled opposition paradigm that the globalists are pushing. So I want to be very, very clear about this. Wall Street has hijacked our republic. Wall Street is the opposite of free market. Wall Street, as it is today, is the opposite of what you would call true capitalism. It is crony capitalism or crony fascism, insider monopoly capitalism, which seeks to create communism and socialism in their own documents. Carroll Quigley wrote about it, of course. People from the outside like Gary Allen, whose son now runs Politico, was able to break it down and none dare call a conspiracy back in the early 1970s. And, of course, his book just basically mirrors what's admitted by Carroll Quigley and others. But without getting too academic here with you today, I want you to listen to me very, very, very carefully. There are a lot of good people involved in this Occupy Wall Street movement. Wall Street is the problem. But it's a sophisticated problem, and the globalists have camouflaged themselves well. But if you do the research, it's ridiculous how they stick out like a sore thumb. It's like one of those hidden image, paintings that you look at, you don't see it. And once you see it, you can't believe you didn't see it before. So here's what's happening. In the last 2 weeks since this Occupy Wall Street thing has begun, we've interviewed Luke Rudkowski on the ground. We've interviewed other activists that have been there. The police have been out of control, beating up peaceful protesters, arresting media people. It's been terrible. But you have to ask yourself, who is organizing the Occupy Wall Street movement? And of all the different groups that are there taking part in it, the libertarian groups, the conservative groups, the liberal groups, the socialist groups, the communist groups, that whole spectrum, in the Fedders, Ron Paul supporters, you name it. Of that entire spectrum of people, who originally organized it, A, and B, who is the mainstream corporate whore media giving attention to? And then you'll understand what the goal of this is. Okay? But first, let me state our executive summary of this, and then I will go through the evidence of it. And we're going to have more articles out tomorrow. I've been researching it for 2 weeks. I can now definitively tell you what this is. George Soros-linked and White House-linked groups and known White House and Democratic Party operatives, and I watched these videos last night, I watched them this morning, and really confirmed that what Webster Tarpley said on my show Wednesday on InfoWars Nightly News, when he went through the fact that, look at the slogans, look at the groups, this is clearly a fake George Sorosian kind of color revolution. The globalists create revolutions to counter themselves so they control the opposition. Now, I remember 2 weeks ago seeing the George Soros White House connections, but still I wasn't sure. Then you see the police attacking them, which is designed to make them martyrs. And of course, there's other diverse groups there and just grassroots people there. So you can't color it with one brush. The point is, though, that the mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the New York Daily News, CNN, all of them are giving this massive attention when they don't give in the Fed attention, going after the real heart of the problem, the real top of the pyramid. So that's happening. So we've got that going on. The media is giving them attention, and they're giving attention to, and now it's happening in L.A., Chicago, Boston, all over the country. We're seeing the Occupy Wall Street movement. And we'll go over their demands in a moment. They're all scripted with a Democratic Party type operative up front who says mindless slogans who were then mindlessly repeated by the crowd. So this is right out of central casting, right out of the Democratic Party, right out of George Soros, and we've done the research. It's all linked to those groups. We've got articles up at Infowars.com and PrisonPundit.com breaking that down. More tomorrow. So why is the establishment doing this? Why? Because they know that the country has woken up to the private Federal Reserve hijacking the nation. We've woken up to the planned austerity, to raise our taxes, cut our benefits, steal our Social Security, unfunded mandates to the states, and then take that money and pay it to Wall Street through the banker bailouts, which are direct taxes to them. We see the same thing happening in Europe right now. Taxes going up, benefits going down. The public signed on to hundreds and hundreds of trillions of derivatives that the banks created. So it is the global banking cartel. And they know there's giant opposition to it. So just like they know the Arabs are about to rebel against Western dictators and other things 6 months ago, the West knew that. They had all their Google actuaries and spy grids picking up the chatter. They could predict mass movements. They knew with derivatives prices imploding and all this happening and dollar devaluation globally that was driving up commodity prices. They knew people were being pushed to the edge of rioting. So they went in and triggered their color revolution operatives, just like George Soros and the Pentagon and the State Department have done all over Eastern Europe and in Georgia and have tried to do in Iran. That's all on record. They bragged they financed all of this, from Libya to Syria to the successes of places like Egypt. So now this is coming here. The banksters can't just come in and take over society and implode society and get the lion's share of tax money paid to them with the derivatives that they've mixed into the rest of our societal pension funds and systems and social security systems. They've got to lead the opposition. So what do they have happen? And I've talked about this a lot. I mean, people are tuning in saying, well, a lot of this, Alex, we already knew and heard. I know, but now it's totally clear we're going to the next phase. So stay with me, and I'll sum it all up. But you know, I don't just give little simple boilerplate chants like the George Soros people or Rush Limbaugh does on the right, all working for the same global interest to keep you on their left-right plantation. We have seen a total and complete mass buildup to what's happening now. And we've seen the Federal Reserve in the last 3.5 years surveilling Ron Paul when he gives in the Fed speeches outside the Fed in Houston. The same day I was there with Ron Paul's brother, Wayne Paul, it's in the Obama deception, giving a speech in Dallas at the Fed. And it later got leaked and was confirmed that the U.S. Army was at all the Fed events surveilling us as, quote, terrorists, and telling the military that we were terrorists. But good people inside the military knew what was happening and leaked the information saying it was unconstitutional, that they were there surveilling us and had been told that we were basically bad people being demonized. It came out, of course, 3 weeks ago. We broke the news. Now it was in the New York Times and other publications over the weekend and Forbes that the Federal Reserve is, quote, surveilling everyone in real time with NSA-type technology on the web, every comment, every blog comment, to whether you're a friend or foe of the Federal Reserve. This is the illegitimate government that's hijacked things. This is the oligarchy, the finance capitalists who are the opposite of free market, the admitted monopoly men, the John D. Rockefeller folks that said 100 years ago plus, 110 years ago or so, that competition was a sin. He said that in a newspaper in 1901, so exactly 110 years ago. These are the people. See, it confuses the grassroots socialists and liberals. They think rich guys are bad, take their money, we'll all get wealth. You could take all the wealth in the U.S. that isn't offshore. It's $2 trillion. It wouldn't run the country for 1 year. They've got Warren Buffett out on every TV show I've seen for 6 months, ABC, CNN, saying, I don't pay taxes. That's wrong. Raise my taxes. What you don't know is he openly gets the banker bailouts through the Bank of America that he owns part of, and, of course, Wells Fargo. He helped 12 years ago on record, along with Bill Clinton and others, and Republican leadership, get rid of Glass-Steagall and write the legislation. Listen to me carefully. And write the legislation exempting them from taxes offshore. That's why he pays 0%, or Google pays 2.4%, or all these other, Walmart overseas pays 0%, or General Electric pays 0%. They're exempt. Then they come in and have the Democratic Party and their operatives and Obama get up and say, hey, 99%, isn't getting all this wealth, so raise taxes. That's the elite sicking the poor people on the middle class that actually buy things and do things and keep the economy going to get rid of it, saying $125,000 a year individually, raise your taxes, you're rich. Husband and wife married, $250,000, 150,000 combined, boom, you're going to have your taxes raised. When you actually look at what Obama and his boss, Warren Buffett, who campaigned for him and gave him all that money, they're openly pushing, just like in Europe, to raise taxes on the middle class to pay it offshore into the global central banks. And then they have a big gaggle of simple-minded protesters out there in the streets running around calling for socialism. I saw clips this weekend of Michael Moore being questioned by Luke Rudkowski. It's up at Infowars.com. Kurt Nimmo wrote an article about it titled Michael Moore Hearts, or I Love Hearts, the Federal Reserve. See, the Federal Reserve knows the public isn't sophisticated. And so they simply sick the giant mob of socialists and people that are worth $200 million like Michael Moore on regular people making $50, $60, $70, $100,000, $200,000 a year. By the way, they've all had their tax